Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you new here, my name is Donna, and for those of you not new, thank you so much for continuing to come back and support my channel. I appreciate every one of you so very much. Today we are doing the next installment in my palette roulette series, in which I let an app choose a palette for me to use throughout the week. I use it, I come back to you, I show you some swatches, and I show you some pictures of what I did with the palette, and I talk to you a little bit about the palette. Today we are talking about the Makeup Revolution Mermaids Forever palette. I at first was super confused about the Makeup Revolution portion of this, but through research I found that they operate in three different, I don't know exactly what it is, honestly, if I'm being 100% honest with you, but they have Makeup Revolution, they have I Heart Revolution, Obsession Makeup, and Revolution Pro, all housed under the same makeup company. So I didn't know if this was part of I Heart Revolution or if it was Makeup Revolution or what it was, but it's all Revolution Beauty houses all four of those subsidiaries. And I think Obsession Makeup is in the UK, and they are the same brand. Anyways, this is Makeup Revolution Mermaids Forever palette. This palette retails for $15, and on the Google website, you know, the Google page, when you look up Makeup Revolution Mermaids Forever palette, it does have it ranked at a 4.1 star. However, on the Revolution Beauty website, this palette ranks in at 3.3 stars. And that is with 37 reviews. But on the Google website, when you look it up, that 4.1 stars is based on 4,122 reviews for this palette. I would venture to say that 3.3 is a little more accurate to what it actually should be ranked at. And what was funny about that is I went in and looked at the reviews on this palette that made it that 3.3 stars, and there's quite a few 2-star reviews on it that said amazing things about the palette. So it made me wonder why they only ranked it 2 stars. I'm not sure what's going on there. But the palette looks like this. It is just really sleek black plastic packaging, which is really nice. It does have, you know, information on the back. It tells you there is a 12-month shelf life on it. It tells you that the net weight of this palette is 0.7 ounces. It also tells you that it has 32 pieces or 32 shades in here. So 32 shades at 0.7 ounces means that each one of these pans rings in at just over 0.02 ounces per pan, which is microscopic. Honestly, they're about the size of a dime, and I think I told you guys that when we opened it up last week in the palette roulette series. This is what the palette looks like. It does have quite a few shades, again 32 shades, and I mean, it's decent. It's a really great color story. There's a little bit of everything in here for you. There's a lot of color for those that are just trying to reach out into color and don't really know what they're doing. This would be an appropriate palette for you because of reasons that I'll discuss in a little bit. I love that it has this mirror on it. It is the size of the palette, which is really nice. A lot of the less expensive brands don't even include a mirror because mirrors are expensive. So I really appreciated that about this palette. It did have a really nice clasp on it, but this one broke in my storage area. I don't know how, but it did break. So it is no longer a functioning clasp. For me, it won't travel well. For you, it might. I remember it to be a really hard to open clasp, and I'm wondering if maybe that's why it got broke, was because it was so hard to get open initially. The names of the shades did come on the sheet, the plastic sheet protector that was initially in this palette. It's no longer there. I got rid of it a long time ago. I don't know why I did, because the names of the shades are on them, but typically I do get rid of those right away just because they're more of a pain in the ass to me than they are anything else. But that one did have all the shade names on it. I am not going to swatch this palette. There's too many shades. They're 32. I will swatch, you know, my favorites. I will also swatch some to show you like some of the downfalls that I see with this palette and go from there. But what I have for you is only 2 pictures of me with this palette on my face, mostly because I did do my makeup several times over this last week. I had doctor's appointments to go to, nutritionist appointments to go to, but I just didn't find that it was amazing. So like, sneak peek, this is a no from me. You guys, this palette is not great. It does have some pros though. I'm going to go over the pros and cons with you. Some standout things, the perks to it is that number 1, it's got an amazing mirror. So if this is a palette that you take with you on, you know, road trips or whatever, you don't have to pack another mirror with you. This mirror is huge. You can use it for mixing shades of like foundation. You can use it, you can hold it. It does show you everything on your face. It's an amazing mirror. I love this mirror. This is probably the best part of this palette, honestly. And the fact that you can get a palette with this size of mirror in it for $15, that's unheard of. It really is. The packaging is pretty sturdy. I love the plastic packaging of it. It's easy to wash down. It's easy to store. It's really sleek for a 32 pan shadow palette. Typically, they're not this small. I love the range of color in here. I think that this is an amazing range of color. It's got a great color story. It's got some blues, some greens, it's got pinks and purples. It's also got your neutral tones. So if you are just getting out there and deciding that you want to use some color, this is a perfect palette for you because you have all those neutral tones and those mid-range tones that you can use and then pop a little bit of color into your eye look as well. This eye look did not come from this palette. I'm just gonna say it does look like it could have, but it didn't. This palette does not have this kind of pigmentation. This eye look though, I did do a get ready with me with. It's in collaboration with Lisa I, who I have collaborated with before, and Courtney K, who I have never collaborated before with. And I get confused sometimes because I also have a YouTube friend named Courtney KH. So if you see me stumbling over that, that's why. But Courtney K and Lisa I are really good friends, and myself and Lisa I are really good friends. And I think it's really cool that we were able to collaborate together. So you will see this eye look on Friday. This is a little spoiler. But that being said, I could have never gotten this eye look from this shadow palette, even though it looks like I could have. There was no fallout with this palette. I was shocked. That is probably, again, besides the mirror, one of the best things about this. I really expected there to be a ton of fallout, especially since a lot of the shadows in here are super dry, super chalky, super dry, and created a whole lot of powder. There was no fallout. I was shocked. And then these 2 shades right here, they made really great brow bone shades. For anybody who wants to go in with a slightly shimmery but not quite shimmery brow bone shade, those were amazing. This one was also a really good one to lay down because my skin has a little bit more of a yellow tone. This was a good one to lay down on top of any of the primers that I put on my eye to what we do with our eyeshadow primer to set our eyeshadow primer. Some of the cons with this palette. The pigmentation in this palette is super hit and miss. There's not a whole lot that I can say about really standout shades. I would say this one shocked me quite a bit, this blue right here, because it actually has this little like duochrominess to it. It actually looks a wee bit purple when you put it on your eye look and you shift it a little bit. As a matter of fact, this is a shade that is on my lids in one of the eye looks. It's a little periwinkle, so it looks blue or purple dependent on what colors you have with it or what way you're facing in the light, which was different. It's not what I expected. I did expect it to be a lot more purple, based on the color in the pan. I mean, it maybe looks a lot more blue to you guys, but in person it looks a lot more purple. This shade right here I use to blend out a lot of eye looks, and when I blend out my eye looks, I want there to be just a touch of color but not a lot of color, and this was pretty perfect for that, except for that once I started blending it, it just kind of went away. You guys, they just go away. There's not a lot of pigmentation in these shadows. So I'm gonna show you this row here, which would typically be one of my favorite rows to dig into because it's reds and oranges. So I did take this shade here and then these 3 shades here, because that would typically be my favorite row, right? These are shades I always dig into, and they look pretty spectacular, except for this last one here, which you can't freaking see. Then as soon as you start blending them, they all look like shiny, and there's 2 mattes in this. There's 2 mattes. None of the mattes were quite matte. They were all a little bit more satiny than they were matte, which meant that I had nothing really to put into my crease because I don't love a shimmery effect in my crease. I do have this red in my crease in one of the eye looks, and it looked okay. It just wasn't my favorite because once you start blending it, it just kind of blends away, and then you have to go in and you have to pack more in. Well, the more you pack in a shimmer or a satin, the more shiny it is, and I didn't want that in my crease. But that's what I ended up with in my crease. The shade names, another con of it, are the shade names are on the plastic. So if you throw away the plastic, you've got no shade names. You actually have to look them up. And the shimmers in this palette even perform more satin. So I feel like you've got 32 shades of satin colors, and you really need mattes to help with an eye look, or at least I do. I need a matte. The pigmentation just isn't there. Even if you can get it to the pigmentation level that you want, it fades. It fades so fast. I would say 5 to 6 hours, 7 hours at best is what I was getting wear time with this. They do perform so much better with a primer on, with a white based primer on, than they do with any other kind of primer or bare skin. With that being said, you're only going to see a little bit more of the color payoff, the pigmentation payoff, and not really get a longevity any longer than that 5 to 7 hour window. I would say the more that they looked like they were supposed to be a shimmer, the quicker they faded off. So the quasi mattes lasted a little bit longer than the quasi shimmers, but they were all really kind of satin more than anything else. This palette is, I would say, best for a teenager or somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing with makeup. I would say it's best for somebody who really wants to get into color but doesn't really know what they're doing with it yet, because it's a good play palette. I do have some palettes by Makeup Revolution, or Revolution Pro, I think is the other palettes that I have by Revolution Beauty. And those are actually quite good. So the reason why I kept this palette in my collection is because I had a decent time with the Revolution Pro portion of the brand. The Makeup Revolution portion of the brand is just not great. I did purchase this palette on a BOGO with the Fortune Favors the Brave palette with a really cool like layout, and I'll put a picture of it in here. It had shadows in it that looked, you know, marbled, and it really looked cool, and it came with a brush. And that brush was a piece of work. It was not a great brush. I immediately tossed it in the garbage, and I never do that with brushes because I'm kind of a brush hoarder. I keep them all no matter what. I just have like the ones that I use versus the ones that I don't use as often, depending on where they sit in my collection. That one went straight into the garbage. That palette I tried once and immediately gave it to my daughter. It's more like neutral tones. It's got some blues and stuff in it, but it all looked super chalky on my face. What I can say is this one didn't look super chalky, but it also didn't have a lot of payoff to it. And you guys will probably see that in both of the pictures that I have showing the eye looks that I got. And these were the two best eye looks that I got from this palette, the most pigmented eye looks that I got from this palette. Do not even try to wear this palette without a primer on it, because you will see nothing. You will see no colors. None. Don't blend out this palette. If you're going to use it, don't blend. That's the one, another downfall that this palette has, is that you really, if you're learning makeup, this is a great palette for you because it's got all the colors. It really has an excellent color story for learning makeup, but you can't blend the colors because you will blend them away. So in that aspect, it's not great for beginners because they're just learning how to blend. And I know from experience, because I was a beginner not that long ago, that if you're learning how to blend and the color goes away, then you're not learning. You're just panicking because you don't know what you're doing wrong. And with this palette, all the shadow will go away. So again, I am not going to swatch this for you. I will tell you it is not staying in my collection because it's broken. I will probably just give it to my 8-year-old daughter. This would actually be a really good palette for her to have because she's not gonna look like a crazy person, but there are 32 different colors of shadow that she can play with, and I didn't get it for very expensive. I think I paid $8 for it total. I'm actually kind of sad because that was a pretty palette, and even after I got rid of the Fortune Favors the Brave one, I kept that one because I really thought I could get this kind of eye look out of that palette, but there's just no possible way to get this kind of pigmentation out of that palette. There's just not. So I am getting rid of that palette. That palette will no longer be in my collection, and we are going to pick a new palette. For those of you who are new and don't know this, I do have a Samsung Note 9, and I did get out of our Play Store, which is our app store, a decision wheel app called the Decide Now app. This is what it looks like. It has all of my palettes in it. As I get new palettes in, I do put them into the decision wheel, and as we use them or I declutter them prior to use, I do take them out. So we are on, this will be for episode 80. What? So let's pick a new palette, and to do that we just press that little blue button in the center. All right, I got, BH Cosmetics Take Me Back to Brazil palette. And I'm gonna go get that. I'll be right back. All right, this is the BH Cosmetics Take Me Back to Brazil palette. This is what it looks like. This is another one I haven't used. I'm interested to use this palette just because it's got all these crazy colors. Again, these are like dime size pans. So there's that. But I'm also digging this because it's got these different like darkening and lightening shades up here to use with this palette. So it's really truly an all-in-one. It does have the crazy pops of amazing color. So, and we are getting right into summertime. So these are perfect shades for that. I have had this palette for quite some time and haven't used it yet, so I'm kind of stoked to use it. I hope that you'll want to come back next week and see my thoughts on the Take Me Back to Brazil palette. Do you guys have this palette? And if you do, how do you feel about it? Do you have the Makeup Revolution palette that I just discussed? And if you do, how do you feel about it? Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that you guys are having an amazing Monday. Hopefully you like this video enough that you're considering giving it a big thumbs up. Really does help our channel out here. I also hope that you liked it, or me, enough that you're considering subscribing to my channel before you go. If you do, don't forget to hit that notification bell. It will notify you every single time I upload a video, which is every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and every other Sunday. Thank you guys for being here. I know that you don't have to click on my videos, so it warms my heart that you do. Episode 80, y'all. Wow. How many have I gotten rid of in these episodes? I'm not even quite sure. Not even quite sure how I ended up with 80 different palettes and so many more to choose from. So there's that. Give me some feedback down in the comment section. I would love to hear your guys' voice, or see your guys' voice. See your voice. Thank you guys so much. Have an awesome day. Stay safe out there. And until next time. Bye, guys.